I think everyone should be forced to game on a bad PC at least once. We've all been there. Looking at people with the latest RTX cards, the latest Ryzen CPUs with an LED AIO and an all-white PC case with a touchscreen on it. Meanwhile, we're sitting here with our old hand-me-down laptop or grandma's PC. Being limited to a certain threshold of which your machine can handle is an experience I believe everyone has to go through. Driving your car and it can only go a certain speed before it just dies, or a limited storage space on your device, so you have to make every app count. Being limited like this forces us to make do with what we have. I remember my old phone had 64 gigs of storage, and with all the important apps and photos I didn't want to delete, I had to choose between keeping Call of Duty Mobile or Mobile Legends, and in the end I kept Mobile Legends. That problem also applies to PCs. Say I have an i3 and a 1050 Ti. I won't even be close to running games like The Last of Us or Black Myth Wukong or any new AAA game release without lowering my resolution to at least 720p and having like upscaling turned to the max just to achieve a stable frame rate. But let's say I play indie games such as Hades 2, Brotato, Dead Cells. These games will be running flawlessly. Or if I want a larger scale game, I can dial back the years and pick something from the past that still holds up really well. The Witcher 3, Metal Gear Solid 5, and GTA 5 are all timeless games. Being confined to play games on an old machine forces the user to find hidden gems or very well optimized games. This is what I experienced with my 750 Ti. If you're like me, then you would much rather play single player games compared to competitive multiplayer games like CS2 or League of Legends, Rocket League, meaning I had to search every nook and cranny to find games that I like to actually play. For example, Severed Steel, a really good fast-paced shooter, kind of like Ultra Kill that I would recommend to almost anyone. Manifold Garden, Return of Obra Dinn are all games I searched myself and didn't appear in any of those 200 best games on low-end PCs. This also makes you more technical. Take Fallout 4. This game runs fine on a 750 Ti, but there are a lot of little stutters and things that can be further optimized. So you start thinking of doing it yourself. You head over to Nexus Mods, grab a mod manager and start shoving mods like crazy for performance improvements, or you can even start digging to .ini files to disable forced anti-aliasing or even vsync. Not to mention if you're restricted to a certain amount of RAM, let's say 8 GB. You'll be more inclined to uninstall or disable bloatware on your system. You'll investigate and find what applications are taking up all of your precious system RAM. You get to understand games that have deeper depth in gameplay and less in the visual aspects that you wouldn't have otherwise. These include very old games like Fallout New Vegas, Morrowind, Kenshi, Undertale, just to name a few. Then you have upscaling and frame generation. Now, of course, my 750 Ti doesn't have DLSS or FSR, but a certain application exists. Lossless scaling. This is a third-party application for games or GPUs that doesn't support DLSS and FSR. Unlike DLSS and FSR, lossless scaling only has access to two rendered images since it doesn't have access to the game's internals. It sees the frame after it's been generated by your machine, so it has to guess where the image will move in the next frame. Lossless scaling can generate way more FPS than DLSS and FSR, but there is always a catch. Artifacts, flickering, and input lag were all the big downsides I noticed while using lossless scaling. The most demanding game I've beaten with my 750 Ti is Detroit Become Human, which I decided to use lossless scaling because 720p looked terrible for a game as beautiful as Detroit Become Human, and it's the only game I've actually beaten with lossless scaling. Speaking of beautiful graphics, a hefty rig can run games with insane visuals, stuff that is almost real life. Low-end gamers will almost never experience this. One game I did play with visuals that genuinely shocked me was Battlefield 1. The visuals were stunning and the game ran absolutely flawlessly. Having a bad PC isn't fun at all. It's limiting, frustrating, and straight up annoying, but it teaches you how to make the most of what you have. You learn to optimize, to appreciate good design, and to value gameplay over graphics. And when you do finally upgrade, you don't take any of it for granted because you remember what it was like fight when every frame mattered. But I would definitely say with full-on confidence to just be happy with whatever hardware you have. Whether that be an old LGA 775 system with a GT 710 in it, because even though the hardware is really just bad, it's better than not owning a PC at all.